Today we're going to cover adding supports in Cura. Let's go ahead and take a look. Just to make sure everybody's up to speed with where we are at. Here I've chosen our printer. I just made one called Random Mantis, but this is going to be probably Mantis 3D printer for you or whatever it is that you named it. In the center section I've got the material choice, which is going to be the Mantis generic PLA that we created in the last video in this series. And if you haven't watched that video yet, I would highly recommend that you do, because getting all these settings together to be able to actually create a Cura profile for your Mantis is all covered in that video. So I'm not going to go back over it, but just to make sure we're all up to speed. That's your printer right there, that's your material right there, and here are your print settings, and if you click on those you'll see that, yes indeed, print settings. In the center of our screen you will see Owlbear. Why did I choose Owlbear? Because he is awesome. So I want to show you a little bit here, and also the other reason I chose Owlbear is because he gives us a couple of great examples of where overhangs are present in a model, and then I can show you what overhangs are and what we do to make sure that they'll still print. So if we rotate Owlbear so that we can see the underside of the model, you'll notice that everything underneath the model that doesn't have anything underneath it is colored in red. 3D printing is an additive process, so to keep things very basic, you are squirting layer of plastic on top of layer of plastic from the bottom to the top to create whatever you want. The very base of the model is always going to be the build plate, which is the magnetic removable piece that's on your Mantis. In the case of things that need to be printed that don't make contact with that build plate, those are overhangs. So if you see, if we went back to here, in this section, and in quite a few sections, but I'll just use this one as an example, in this section of the Owlbear model, there's literally nothing underneath it. So when the hot end starts squirting plastic along this line, the plastic is just going to fall to the bed itself because there's nothing there to support it. This is where you would need to add supports in order to create some type of structure underneath the area of the model that you want to print. The supports that I'm going to show you today are going to be tree supports. Cura has what they call a normal support, and I'll show you where that's located as well. I'm a huge fan of tree supports. Normal supports are quite a bit harder to remove once the model is printed, and they tend to leave a bit more of a mark on the model. You can see where the support was actually located. Cura's got a fantastic feature called tree supports that are very organically created structures. They're really, really easy to remove for the most part. Frequently I don't even need any type of flush cutters or any tool except maybe like a flat tip screwdriver just to pop them off, and a lot of the time I can even do it by hand. We are going to click on print settings. You'll see that I already have the support tab located in my print settings. If for any reason that's not on yours, you can, in the search settings, type support, which will then break down anything that contains the word support. Alternatively, and probably preferably, you could click on what we call the hamburger menu, and then click on Manage Setting Visibility. And then under the filter, type support, and once again this will pull up everything that involves supports. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there's an entire section dedicated to support. All of the defaults that are located here are completely okay to keep. The one thing you also want to make sure is checked, that on mine was not, is the support structure box. This will give you the opportunity to choose between normal supports and tree supports, because Cura defaults to the normal support unless you specify it. So we've clicked support structure, click close, and now on our print settings we can go ahead and open up the support tab by clicking on the left arrow, and then it'll drop down. Alright, so let's go ahead and cover exactly what all this stuff is. Generate support is simply choosing whether or not you want to generate support. If this was not clicked, you would notice that there was nothing there. It automatically takes away the options if you haven't clicked the box. So once you click it to say, yes, I would like to generate support, it'll pull up the rest of this menu. Now we get to choose. This is the support structure option that we chose before. We can choose between normal and tree. And now this opens up other options. The tree support branch angle is literally the angle at which the model, if it has any angles that exceed that, any number higher than 40 degrees, it will automatically put supports underneath that angle. Personally, I've found that 40 is a bit low. I've gone as high as 55. And for me, that's worked well. You can certainly experiment with it. I'm sure there are people who have pushed it much higher than that, and I'm sure there are other people who, left it right at the 40 and had great results. Personally, I found 55 works great. The branch distance is, and you can read all the little, blurbs that are on the side here, but your distance, your diameter angle, and your collision resolution can all be left exactly as they are. Your support placement is, there's two options here. We have touching the build plate, and we have everywhere. 90% of the time, if not 99% of the time, I am choosing touching the build plate. This means that all of the tree support structures that are generated from the build plate as their origin. So the base, the roots of the tree, are growing up out of the ground of the build plate. If you choose everywhere, if there are certain areas on your model that need support, but they're very high off the build plate, it will actually build the tree support on top of your model and then connect it to the area that it needs to have the support. Personal choice again. I have just found that when it's everywhere, it tends to leave a little bit more of a mark on the model. You can actually see where the support was generated. It's definitely quicker, but for my money, I'm willing to stick with touching build plate unless there's, a really glaring reason why I don't want some huge support structure extending from the bottom of the build plate all the way up into the sky. So we'll stick with touching build plate for this one. The support overhang angle. Let me just double check to make sure I did this correct. Oh, I didn't. Okay, sorry, my apologies. Stick with 40 here. It's the support overhang angle that we want to change to 50 or 55, which we could totally leave at 50, but we'll go ahead and make it 55 because I have found that works well. I'm sorry, the tree support branch angle is actually the angle of the branches. You don't want to change that. Because you don't want the branches to have huge angles to them because it weakens the support structures. The support overhang angle is the minimum angle at which the supports will actually start being generated. So as it says right here, at a value of 0 degrees, all overhangs are going to be there, and 90 degrees doesn't provide any support whatsoever. My apologies, personally 55% on support overhang angle. Not on tree support branch angle, totally works. Once again, leave tree support branch angle at 40. Your support density is automatically at 0%, which means that it will print all of your structures in vase mode. If you haven't heard of vase mode, it's literally just an outside perimeter and it's completely hollow on the inside. So there's no structural rigidity to the supports themselves. I've used it on certain models where the supports were needed, but they weren't too complicated. On a model like this, I definitely would not leave our support density at 0. Instead, once again, personal preference, I tend to go with 10%. I've done some at 5%. I've done some at 20%, which honestly was too much infill. But now with a 10% infill, not only will the support be generated, but it'll have some structure inside of it so that it'll be a little bit more stable and it'll be better able to support the model on top. Personally, I do leave the Enable Support brim checked. This creates a brim underneath, not around, but underneath your support structures, and I just find that it helps keep them adhered to the build plate much better, and That is always a good thing. Your support Z distance and the support top distance are both completely fine at 0.1 millimeters. And now we can go ahead and click off of here. And now we're going to go ahead and click slice. We're not going to do this in real time because I think this will probably take somewhere in the neighborhood of around 10 minutes to slice. And this is the reason why the Mantis does not automatically generate support structures when you slice natively on the Mantis, because the processing power required to get it done is just more than the devices that are on board the Mantis can handle. But on your laptop, when you're doing something like this, although it does take a few minutes, your laptop can, generally speaking, totally handle this. So I'm going to go ahead and start the slicing process, and then when it's just about done, I'll check back in with you. All right, so I think we're almost done. Yes, so we are almost done. Cool, so here we go. 9 hours and 35 minutes, but hey, there's no supports anywhere. What happened? Go ahead and click on preview. You'll immediately get yelled at, no layers to show, but that is because they are processing, and then bang, there they are. Let's go ahead and zoom in, not out, so we can take a look. All of the blue was not here before. The red is the model, the blue are the tree supports. And you see they grow out of this brim that we said that we were going to create underneath the support, straight up in tree-like structures. You'll see them much better. They look a lot more like trees when you actually physically are looking at them on your model. For right now, you can kind of see that they're tree-like in shape. There's the trunk, things branch out. If I go in even closer, you might be able to see the individual branches. Yeah, you can kind of see them right there. But now your model is completely supported. While this thing is printing, there won't be any area in the model that plastic is being squirted into thin air. It'll always be landing on top of the support structure. And when this model is done printing, all of the support structure here will just snap off. And if you have any issues getting it off, like if this support structure was connected to the ones underneath it, which look pretty solid, then a pair of flush cutters, which if you don't have them are one of the most useful tools in any 3D printer's toolbox. You can pick them up at any one of the big box home improvement stores or your local home improvement store if you prefer. I think I got mine for like $10 and they're a great pair. You can pick them up even cheaper on Amazon, I'm sure. So one more thing that I'll show you before we get out of here is over here, just kind of a nice little Cura thing. You can see the number of layers that are actually in your model. You can grab this and scroll down, and you can actually see the model being built. So if we went ahead and tilted this so we can look at the top of the model. Oh, we're getting there. Nope. There we go. This is now the interior of your model, happily color-coded to show you a bunch of different things. If you click on color scheme up top where it says line type, you'll see all the breakdown of the colors and what they are. You can even click on your travels, which is where the extruder is moving but not extruding filament, so traveling from here to here to, It's really busy, which is why it is not automatically selected, but there are certain moments in a model, say you're having trouble printing something, where watching how the travel moves occur can actually kind of clue you into where the major issue is in the model. Generally speaking, though, you'll leave that unchecked. So if you wanted to, say, only look at the shell, you would leave extruder 1 clicked because that's going to show every move that the extruder is making, and you could just unclick. The other stuff and the stuff that would be left behind are the multiple layers of the perimeter of the model. If you wanted to take a look at just your infill, just like that. Then at the bottom, let's go ahead and re-click all these to get them where they were. Whoops, no travels. At the bottom here, you can actually press play, and you can physically watch your hot end, that's your nozzle right there, making every single move in one layer of your print. Not only just kind of a nifty thing to watch, once again, when you're diagnosing specific issues, or if you were trying to speed up certain aspects of your printer, watching how the nozzle itself is moving can really clue you in to where potential issues may be in a print. So I believe we are going to call it there, and we're all set. Best of luck printing, and I will see you next time.